Wow, well, hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Wonderful, great energy in the room. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the main stage for today's presentation on the next two ports of call. We'll be visiting this cruise. Of course, I'm talking about Grand Turk, part of the beautiful Turks and Caicos, as well as Ember Cove, which is located in the Dominican Republic. So first, a little bit about myself. My name is Nidia. It's like if you need me, I need ya. Okay, it's a good way for you to remember. I'm part of the incredible entertainment team that we have here on board. And my job is to present the ports of call. So I'm also going to do a later presentation about Half Moon Cay in Fort Lauderdale. So do join me for that as well. I come to you all the way from Portugal. And I've been working on ships for a little bit over 7 years now. So every time I'm always here in the Caribbean over the years, I got to love these places. And for that reason, I'm here to share my experiences with you and some of the things that you can see and do while experimenting and exploring these places tomorrow. So with no further ado, we're going to start, of course, with Grand Turk, which has a very well-earned reputation of being one of the best places in the world to snorkel and dive. So if you're a fan of the marine life and aquatic activities, you're definitely going to have great loads of fun in Grand Turk as well. There is an outstanding protected coral reef that drops up to 7,000 feet along the west side of the island. So absolutely incredible. And again, beautiful coral, beautiful marine life as well. In a geographical context, Grand Turk is located 575 miles southeast of Miami and 30 miles south of the Bahamas. So right between the Bahamas, making up what we call the Bahamian chain that pretty much divides the Caribbean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean. When it comes to Grand Turk, it all started in the 15th century when Christopher Columbus, at least that's what they claim, obviously, they arrived here as the first stop coming in from the first voyage from Europe. You're going to see later on that a lot more places in the Caribbean also claim that Columbus landed first on this particular, on a certain particular island as well. And we're going to see that Ember Cove is one of those places as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Even so, there's a Columbus Landfall National Park that commemorates that possible connection that you're going to be able to visit while we're in Grand Turk tomorrow. Later on, pirates used to use Grand Turk as a hitting place, and then in the 1600s, the Bermudians were drawn by the naturally occurring salt flats. In fact, we're going to see a little bit about that. And then there are the donkeys. Now, you may be thinking, why am I talking about donkeys? And all you came here to see is what to see and do in Grand Turk, because you will see donkeys all around the island, and I want to tell you a little bit why. Okay, so donkeys are one of the strongest reminders of the salt era of the Turks and Caicos. They are all over the island, as well as other remindings like the windmills, like the one you see here on the island, as well as the wells. Now, why there was the reason to build these wells? Because even though the Bermudians were staying in the island seasonally, the donkeys were left in the island all year round. So wells like this were built so that the donkeys could access fresh water in different levels of the water table as well. And if we think about salt these days, it's so commonplace today that it is hard to imagine a time where salt was a very strong commodity and a very important first necessity thing to have, right? But before there was the fridge was invented, and there was no fridges, no freezes, nothing, salt was considered to be white gold, and it had the same value or even further than the gold. Why? Because it was a preservative for meats and fish. So back in the days, our ancestors were conserving the food by using salt. So for that reason, Grand Turk immediately became known in the worldwide map as being one of the most important salt producers in the world. So from 1678 to 1964, they subsisted, not only Grand Turk, but all the Turks and Caicos, almost entirely on the salt trade. And even during the American Revolution, they even supplied George Washington's army, even though they were a British colony. So as you can see, Grand Turk has a natural inland shallow depressions that are called the salinas. You're going to be able to see them tomorrow while roaming around the island. And these are perfect conditions for salt making. As I mentioned at the beginning, in the 1600s, the Bermudans were attracted to Turks and Caicos. Because of that, they established the salt ranking operations. And this stamp here doesn't really give you a good overview how brutal the labor was to produce salt. We're talking about hot winds and soaring temperatures. They were walking barefoot on chunks of crystals. So it was almost unbearable. It was very, very hard. But it was those particular conditions that made, that created the perfect conditions for salt making. Then when salt was being crystallized, after being crystallized, it was put into big piles. And then that's where the donkeys come in, because the donkeys used to pull those carts either to shipping containers or to ships so that they could go all around the world. So for that reason, the donkeys that you will see tomorrow in Grand Turk, if you get off the cruise center and you walk around, you're going to see that they are the living descendants of those hardworking creatures. Okay, so now you know why donkeys exist in Grand Turk, and of course we have going to have